Hi,
Hey,
girl.
girl.
Yo.
We haven't started off with a fan clack in a while.
It's been a minute. Oh my God, I
This
missed
time.
her. How is she?
I missed her too. Mwah. Girl.
You are serving up not even substitute art teacher vibes tonight, but the actual
Full-time.
art.
I was going to say full-time tenured art teacher. Art faculty, ladies and gentlemen. That's what we like to see.
What a geographical delight you are this evening. Tell me, where's she from? Who's she with?
Pride came early this year. That's all I have to say.
Yes, girl, with all the bad news and these bills, we fucking need it. Let Pride come.
One right after another. I'm like, I'm coming for you next, Missouri, because they're like taking trans-affirming care away from adults now, too. And I'm just like, I can't, you know what? Let me put on my rainbow sensible separates and just like...
It's a sensible separate.
Mm-hmm. So this is like, here's what I love with this outfit. I feel like it achieves a lot of different things. Like, you can start off the day at work if you just kind of like tuck this up a little bit, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's got just a little bit of a peekaboo, but it's a button-down top with like a split in the back. So like there's kind of like a sexy peekaboo going on.
Oh.
Ruffle flounce layer on the skirt, so it like swishes a little bit, but it's a very sensible length, I feel like.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. If it gets hot in those spring summer evenings, you can like cuff these sleeves and roll them up if you need to. And it's got fun little like swimsuit ties on the side. So I feel like it's a complicated look, but I mean, look at the print. It's a complicated print. So like, I got a lot to say.
And girl, it's a complicated woman, you know?
It's a complicated woman.
So wait a minute, I have a question. Are the ties on the skirt or the top?
On the top.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. It's like hard to explain, but the when you button the shirt down, there's like flaps that open up on both sides, and you gotta tie the flaps together.
I love that. It's literally like business on top, party on the bottom, but there's like business on the bottom and party on top. Like it's literally like you can't be like, oh, I'll wear just one piece because it's an open back, so that's not business. And then the front, you know what I mean? It's just a little bit of each, which I really love.
Yeah, I don't know exactly. I'm still trying to figure out how to wear the top without showing, like, the center back strap of the bra. Because you can't wear a strapless bra. You'll still see that in the back. So the only thing you could do is go braless or have, like, a floating bra. So
the floating bra. I remember
I need fashion advice.
Victoria's Secret. I had to buy a floating bra for one of my, like, prom dresses. And I remember back in the day, it was, like, $140.
Oh, my God.
And
also,
I was, like,
they're
in high
super
school.
uncomfortable. And you can wear them for, like, one outfit.
Right. And, like, yeah. And it was, like, adhesive works multiple times. And I was like, I'm not going to buy a $140 bra for one use. Because you know it's one use. It's Victoria's Secret.
Yeah. Reusable. Is it?
Oh, but Victoria's Secret is also my first place that I ever bought thigh highs. So I always have a spot in my heart. But
magical.
So overpriced. Ripped the first time I wore them.
Of course. Everyone remembers their first time. Do you remember, like, the first run in pantyhose and just feeling like, I wasted all that money to wear these once?
And then you'd, like, paint it with nail polish and it never worked.
Yeah, yeah.
My mom would always do that. But she never had clear. So it just looked like she had, like, blood all over her all the time.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
And she'd have little red blotches. Anyways, girl, how are you? What are we dishing on?
Girl, what are we not dishing on? Like, we're gearing up to Pride season. Maybe that's it. I had a list in my head, but it's a list of one thing. We're gearing up to Pride season. So girl, like, let's talk about spending time with people.
I think that's good because that's really what we're heading into as the CDC fights with federal judges and mask mandates are lifted and things are happening and people are hanging out.
Yeah. Crowd situations are going to be coming back. So, like, I think that's sort of metaphorical to the topic we have tonight. Like, what do you do when you feel crowded in a relationship, right? How much time is too much time spent together? What is quality time, Brooke? Let's start with that. What exactly is quality time? I don't know. I can't figure it out.
You know, I will say, I think it's one of the biggest things that I will say, like, previous generations, I think, really got wrong. Particularly the baby boomer generation of just like, we're just going to do everything together. And like, we're married and we're going to go on vacation. And it's going to be with the kids. And we're going to do this and blah, blah, blah. It's a whole family. And I'm like, there's no, I don't know. I was talking to my sister about it. She's like, yeah, like I love going on vacation with my family. And I love going on vacation with just my husband. And I love going on vacation alone and with the girls. And I'm like, yeah, exactly. Except when I go with the girls, it's a little bit different. You know what I'm saying, girl? Okay. But
with the girls, strap in.
You know what I mean? like even that stuff where it's like how you structure your time together is more valuable because you actually have time apart.
Yeah, I can barely figure out how to structure time for myself. You know,
yeah.
like how to, the whole mindfulness, like, oh, I'm going to unplug for this 1 hour that I have on my schedule to do such a thing. Like, I'm just going to magically not think about other things. And then I'm like surprised when it doesn't work, you know? So
right.
It's kind of like we've talked about before, relationship, when you're trying to manage the emotions of more than one person. It's like, well, let's start with the emotions of yourself. Like, that's hard enough. Yeah.
I do think what we talked about in prep for tonight, you know, codependency versus interdependency and what that looks like. Mm-hmm. I do think those are terms I'm not as comfortable using. Like, I don't use those as regularly as I think you do. And I thought about that even when we were prepping tonight, where I was like, man, you know, and I actually did my own research a little bit because I was just like, I want to make sure I know what we're talking about. Because I think every lesbian in the entire world, looking at you, every lesbian who's watching in the entire world, has been accused of being codependent and or has identified codependent behaviors, because every person has. But I do feel like in some of my relationships, it's been like, oh, it's a weapon. It can be in any relationship. I think it can be a weaponized word, like gaslighting, that people don't actually know what it means. So like being like, you're being codependent. Like, what does that mean for real? Does that make sense?
It does, because there's a lot of words that we just take on face value. That's not what I'm trying to say. There are words that get ascribed to someone's whole identity, when in fact what we're talking about is behaviors that we all do.
Right.
So it's kind of like when you try to break down institutional racism and like you get fragile because it's like, you're a racist, and it's, you know what I mean? It's the same kind of feeling where it's like, no, we all have to unpack internalized racism, and we all do it. Same thing with codependency. It's like, we're going to do this at some point. It's not a question of if, you know?
Right. And the people who like say they've mastered it, I'm like,
So, Brooke, I don't know. I think maybe we need some definitions.
Girl, bring me some definitions!
Not that I prepared for this or anything. I may or may not have found this live 5 seconds before we hit go live, but
we love to see it. Is it on the dish cam?
It's on. We are on the dish cam. So,
ooh,
girl, if we look at a codependent relationship on the left and an interdependent relationship on the right, I'm so sorry. I need to share this with you somehow, don't I?
No, I screenshotted it because I'm watching us on YouTube, and now I'm zooming in.
Good. Okay, and now I'm zooming in live on the dish.
I am technologically advanced. All right.
We've grown and changed a lot over the course of this program.
Before I'm like, how do I say it?
Put a poll in the chat.
God, one time you say put a poll in the chat, and you never look down. Okay. Having codependent, having poop poor. Poor poops. Having poop boundaries. Feeling guilty or shame for not meeting expectations. Having no personal interests or goals outside relationship. Oh, relationships from my 20s. Get in the chat, relationships from my 20s. All right. Depending on them for your happiness validation. I always say self-esteem has the word in it. It's self.
It's self.
I said that once in a breakup with a woman. I was like, self-esteem has the word self in it. Work on yourself. I'm really fun to break up with.
Oh, and you're like, read this book. You just like throw books at them.
Emotional manipulation. Love that. Love to see it. Try to control their behavior / life choices. So every Republican state house is in a codependent relationship.
With no one, because we don't want to be in a relationship with them anyway.
No, don't call them back, girls. Don't call them back. You are our first defense, straight women. Don't call them back.
You're worth it.
Take us through interdependent relationships, girl.
Okay, so as opposed to codependent relationships, in interdependent relationships, you have healthy boundaries. You are not holding unrealistically high expectations of yourself or them. Being realistic. We love to see it. Making time for your own personal interests and self-care. I'm not so good at that one. Not depending on them to feel worthy or happy. So being more self-dependent. Well, we'll get back to that in a second. Giving each other enough space to maintain a sense of self. I love that. We've discussed that on this program. And
on this exact program.
On this very one. And respecting their choices and opinions, even when they are different from yours. So,
okay, so I want to go work my way back and up to
right.
this. So I think you can respect choices and opinions because I have a very different opinion than my partner on, for example, Dave Chappelle, which we don't bring him up in this house or else we get in giant fights. But here's what I will say.
It's good to know where those like landmines are. You know what I mean?
That is for another dish. My point being that the last one is not something to work on if like their choices actually like negate and invalidate your life or truth. So if they're like, hey, you're not really that gender, it's just my opinion, it's just my choice. Now, I used an extreme example. That's also a very real example, and I know people have experienced it.
I was like, huh.
It's not like you're not respecting my choice. It's like, nah, that's not how it is because you're invalidating my fucking truth. So, anyways.
You're not even seeing me in this relationship. You are seeing someone else.
So like, toodles. Anyways, so which one on the interdependent relationship are you the worst at, and which one are you the best at?
I mean, how to pick? Like, just they all look so good.
All right, which one are you bad at? Like, which one you know you like suck at?
I think I'm really good at unrealistically high expectations because I want myself to be perfect and I want my partner to read my mind. So
okay. Excellent.
I mean, I have more to say about that, but like, Brooke, which one are you looking at? What are you thinking about?
So which one, like, do I know I do, or
which one do you feel like you are, that you have to work on the most?
Oh, yeah. All of these.
Yeah.
You know, I'm actually pretty good at personal interests and self-care, but I have a built-in passion of comedy and other things. So like, that's what makes it like, it's built into my life and I bring it into my relationships. I think if I didn't have that, it would be different. And that is something that I'm aware of constantly. Cause I have to carve that out. But I think in my past, I was definitely not good at the maintaining space to get a sense of self and maintaining that for other people. I think that's something I'm constantly working on. And I think it's interesting because with the move, with kind of like losing my entire like friend group and community in person, right? Like the not depending on them to make me feel worthy or happy has been a piece of it because I was very geographically isolated. And I also moved across the country in a pandemic and moved to somewhere where I knew no one.
Yeah.
So that's that.
Yeah, I think I actually might go a little too far on the giving each other space to maintain a sense of self. Like, I like to be very separate. I like to have deliberate moments where I'm like, okay, this is now me time or this is us time. And I'm not always good at planning those out. So, like, what happens for me is we put things on the schedule, and that's great. Like, we know when we're going to expect... Is this a me thing or an us
do you do
thing?
Do you do a joint calendar? Now we get into it.
We don't have a joint calendar. We have 2 Google accounts that overlap. So it's I can see full details on his calendar and he can see full details on my calendar. So that when I look on my phone, like my events are in purple, obviously. Wow. And his events are in sort of like a marigold. So
oh my God. So we can't see each other's calendar, but we do have a joint calendar where we put on events. Like, so if I want Natalie to be at something, oops, I'm not supposed to, well, I can.
Yeah.
Anyways,
I had to mark the visibility on the Thursday night glory hole to private, but I mean, everything else was fine. Right? Yeah.
Well, if I like want my partner to come to a show, I have a code emoji for the joint calendar. So there's stuff on there.
Oh, I like that idea. There.
But I have all my shows on the joint calendar, so she knows where I am, or they, or he, whatever we're talking about. And I don't know what's happening over here. I'm going through something. But if they see that one emoji, they know I want them there.
That's a really good idea because that's the part that I struggle with is knowing, is this a me event? Is this an us event?
Yeah.
And then the unscheduled time is the other part that I have challenges with. So like, if we don't have anything scheduled on the calendar, generally we assume that means we're going to have a night in and we're going to like watch a TV show or just, why did I say a TV show?
A TV show with the remote.
Show business. We're going to watch TV together, we're going to talk, or we're going to have dinner or something. But if something comes up, so we're trying to be better about blocking out the calendar for that is what we're going to do. Because if it's not scheduled, something might come up, and then now it is scheduled, but then it's like, but I was hoping we were going to spend, it's like, well, we didn't have it on the calendar.
Exactly. So. You do need it on the calendar. Really quick side note, for a drag king name, what do you think of beef stew? STU. I just thought of it. Okay. Beefy stew?
I mean, I see where you're going with it, but it doesn't like, it just sounds like you're saying a food when you say it.
No, but it's STU. Get it?
I do get it.
I don't know if you get it. I don't think you get it. It's
but I
fine.
had to think about the spelling. Beef Stewart?
No, beef stew. Like,
okay.
Never mind.
But stew is short for Stewart, right? You know, we're usually on the dish. We're usually on a pretty good wavelength, but every once in a while, you have to witness these moments with us when we are just on two different frequencies, girl.
Dowager. Anyways.
Dowager.
Well, get in the chat if you notice about Dowager. Nobody does. Fucking 2022.
Oh my God.
All right, I have to let go of some things. Anyways, back to the point. So a codependent relationship, which one are you like, oh, I definitely have this codependent vibe?
Oh, okay, I gotta pull it up again because it's a whole lot. Guilt or shame about... Oh, depending on the other person for my happiness and validation. This is not something that I realize that I do, but this is a subtle one for me. So like, I've been with my partner a long time. I generally feel like I walk through the world and I know I can trust that person loves me. Like I'm not wondering about it. But if we don't spend enough time where we're connected or we're like together on a regular basis and I feel less connected or farther apart from them, then I start to feel like I don't have that strong foundation of someone's out there who cares about me. I'm going to be okay. Like the foundation under me starts to feel a little more shaky. And I'm not always good at hearing that volume. Like how loud is that feeling right now? It can sort of fly under the surface for me and I don't notice it.
Yeah.
Until it's too late.
Girl! No, I totally get that. I get that. I think that's an interesting one for me. I think the one that really stands out for me is like feeling incredible like shame when I don't meet expectations. And it's all self-imposed. Like I feel like I really struggle with it. And shame is like a feeling, and guilt and shame from my like Catholic upbringing or things that just are like, they just swirl for me really quickly and really easily.
Yeah.
So like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I couldn't make that. I had to work. Like, what can I do to make it up to you? And oh my God, blah, blah, blah. And my partner will be like, it's fine.
It's actually fine. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's like, I don't believe you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, of course I say, okay, of course. But like there's this thing in my head that's like, they're gonna leave. Everybody leaves. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just like, what's happening? You know?
Yeah, it's really hard to release yourself of the responsibility to hold everything together. And I think maybe you and I are used to having it all together. So we're like, we can handle this. Like, I need to support this relationship and do the best I can. And so the second part of that is like, we also have to learn how to forgive ourselves for not doing it perfectly.
Yeah.
Because we're not perfect and we're going to make mistakes. And
we're just two career girls.
You know? Work hard or die trying, girl. Nakatomi.
Just two career girls driving across the country. I know what you career girls want. Careers? But I do think that, you know, like life and it's been really interesting, like maintaining even friendships and stuff in the pandemic. Like I see that come out that want to be like, no, like let's catch up. I don't have the energy or time.
Yeah.
You know, like I texted a really good friend of mine from Columbus tonight And I was just like, wow, like, we haven't done a phone call. This was someone I used to spend a ton of time with. And I was like, we still connect and blah, 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 and we text and whatever. But I'm like, let's just do a phone call, like a download. Well, like we used to in the pandemic. And we just like walk around the park for like 2 hours and catch up.
Yeah.
You know, and it's almost being a little more intentional. So those moments don't happen for me. Like really being intentional about where I spend my time.
Yeah.
Because I could be spread way too thin so quick. You know, and I think what we talked about before the pandemic, girl, was like, whenever all the shows stopped, we're like, this is great. I'm gonna just like go paleo and like get my life right and learn sewing again.
I'm gonna cook.
Like,
I've got all this time.
Like, was like, oh no, I'm going to slip into an immediate depression. So just immediate. So
I'm gonna start a weekly live stream. I mean, like that was one of the great things we did in the pandemic. Because honestly, that was a lifeline. This was a life preserver for me. Like there were so many things that were not there, and this was such a great thing that we found that we wouldn't have considered otherwise.
No. But I do think that feeling of like not feeling like enough is something that has followed me my whole life.
Oh, same. Yeah. Like having to prove yourself constantly.
To yourself.
To yourself. Yeah, exactly. When it's probably not that serious. But when I was not performing during the pandemic, I was like, I am a failure of an artist. Right? That was the self-talk that was going on in my head. And the same thing, like you mentioned with...
It was just like, you're a failure.
And actually, you're a failure. It's just you, like, holding on to what looks like Sputnik, just like...
Yes.
Yeah. The shame spiral satellite. So
yes, the shame spiral satellite.
Yeah.
Triple S.
We're just orbiting. Very depression medication commercial energy. You know.
And like sepia tone.
Yeah. And then they like turn up the saturation a little bit during the part when they've started the medication. This actually happened to me when I'm not doing so well, and girl, like there's been a few of those moments in the last few years.
Yeah.
Times when things are a little harder, they're a little rougher, and I don't have the same kind of capacity to show up for my relationship in a way that I think it deserves or the way that I want to. And that's like the real thing, right? That's the it'll just make it worse. It'll make you feel worse because like, well, now I have that to deal with on top of everything else, you know? I can't even sulk the right way.
You know, as somebody who's an extrovert, I think one of the things that people don't realize about me is I also do need some alone time. And I do get some recharge from self. And the more I'm getting older, I think about that. And I think like with the pandemic, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, like this is great. I'll actually get some alone time. But I was like, no, it was not chosen alone time.
Yeah.
Which is the problem.
It was fun alone time for like the first week.
Right. And I think kind of figuring out like what that balance is, because I think I spend more alone time with myself now than I used to. When we lived together, I was like, I couldn't.
Oh, girl, you know me. I was like laying a brick wall every time I would close my bedroom door.
Oh my God. You know,
in there.
It was a different vibe in your room. Like you would be very like, I don't know, like I actually really liked our boundaries when we lived together because it was just like, that was your space.
Little did you know, it was very this in my room. I was just like, oh, like, you know, I would just take the like Clark Kent trench coat off and it would just be real gay.
Yeah. Oh my God, you know who wanted to go to your room so bad?
Miss Penny Loaf.
Penny wasn't allowed in Eileen's room.
She would just force her nose as far under the door gap as it would go and just heavy breathe. She was star-crossed lovers.
Yeah, well, the one that got away. Girl, so for those of us struggling with codependency or aspiring to be interdependent, what are your recommendations?
Go full visibility on your calendar and just share it.
Girl, you're insane. That is insane advice. That is not helpful.
No. So this is where we go to the other side of that. Boop. This is where we go to the other side of that. discussion, which is you then create another calendar within your calendar that they don't have access to.
Calendar inception.
Calendar within a calendar. And by the way, I'm only suggesting that if you feel like you have some trust issues. I really am serious about if you feel like you have a good foundation of trust with your partner. Like, if you're worried about them seeing something on your calendar, maybe that's something to unpack in discussion, right?
That's true. I do feel like with like my DV past, sometimes I'm like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? I'm very much like, no, you can't know where I am.
Yeah, well, I mean, to that point, if you are going to put something on your calendar and mark the visibility private, and that's going to be a problem for the other person,
right?
That is also something that you should unpack.
But it's also a really good thing to learn about the person early. Like, we didn't really share a calendar, you know, at first for a while. No, me and my partner.
Did you remove my calendar from your phone?
We've never shared a calendar.
No, we have not.
We have boundaries.
Yes.
Because we're like, girl, no, you good. If I get the coffin emoji and a dropped pin, I know where you be.
Yep, you know exactly what to do.
We'll send the fucking coroner. Yeah, I do think the conversation about it is telling, right? Like, I'm like, oh, okay, like I want to do a joint calendar, and that's like a way easier start.
Yeah.
Because then you also, it's like, hey, oh, I thought that was on my calendar. It's not. And whenever that happens 3 or 4 times, it's like, okay, we need to have a talk because you're obviously not, you know what I mean, or whatever. Or, hey, I really wanted you there. Well, it wasn't on the joint calendar, so we need to have a conversation. Like, that can kind of help you build that relationship around what time, you know, is yours and what time is reserved for your partner and you. Mm-hmm. Whatever partner that is.
Yeah. You know what's great about having each other's calendars on our phones is that we're like each other's personal executive assistant. Sorry, I'm just... this show is becoming just me finding ways to amuse myself, but like...
I first of all, love this for you.
There's lots of roleplay where like one of us calls the other one on like a very big landline phone. It's just like, hello, desk of Eileen Galvin. Like, oh, is Miss Galvin available at 3? No, I'm sorry, she's not available. Can I take a message? It's just a lot of that.
It's like, no, she has a gala.
We just sensually flip through like leather-bound schedules and make aggressive eye contact.
Honestly, I would be like very turned on if I came into someone's house and they had one of those big wall calendars.
Oh yeah,
love those.
How about a digital display, like a 40-inch flat panel display that has an embedded Google Calendar that's updated in real time?
Sensual.
And if you would like to book me for independent AV / schedule consultation, you can find me.
It's gonna get weird.
Yeah,
that could be the tagline.
It's gonna get real weird.
Personal,
but I'm very reasonable.
Services.
My rates are very
and in
reasonable.
This economy, who knew? No, you know what I have? I do have like calendars.
Oh, I love that.
Well, there's my nephew, but yeah.
Oh,
like,
I can't see the lines, but I can see the picture, and it's super cute.
Oh yeah, there's a ton of cute pictures. But anyways, that's fine. But yeah, I like an old school calendar with like notes. That warms me.
Yeah. I had to go fully paperless because my whole entire life. With this is also scary though because now it's all on this. So if I lose this, it's like, well, that's not completely true because everything's on Google. So we are going to the cloud.
Oh my God, girl. Like I absolutely got, I absolutely got hacked. And
you did?
I got like a few of my passwords were stolen and like, I think it's signed into my Spotify or whatever from like Germany.
Oh, girl.
And I was like, oh.
We need to talk offline about this.
Okay. But I was like, whatever. Okay. Like they logged into whatever the things are. And Natalie was so funny. She's like, I knew it. I knew, the Russians, something big is coming. So hear it here first, dear viewers. If the Russians hack the United States and shut everything down in the coming weeks, we call.
Girl, this is a great note to end on, cybersecurity. So if
change your passwords.
If you do not know what two-factor authentication is, you need to set it up for any and all of your accounts that support it. So you do this, girl, when you log in, you put in your password, you get a notification on your phone. You approve that it's actually you signing in. Many things do this. Amazon, Facebook, Instagram, Google, many large banking service providers do it. And if someone gets your password, they can't get in. because they don't have the second factor.
Oh.
So it prevents 99.999% of account intrusions. Because it doesn't matter if they have your password. They don't have your phone.
I know what I'm doing the rest of the night. And so do you.
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning into The Dish. We're here every Tuesday, sometimes on Thursdays for a deep dish.
With healthy tips and tricks that we may or may not do ourselves.
I'm going to work on two-factor authentication. Eileen's going to go work on her secret Google Calendar. Love you. Bye.
See you next week. Bye, babes.